This is a calibration of all Carlos Castaneda books according to the Hawkins scale. Hello, this is Chris speaking Shores of Infinity with a video about the books of Carlos Castaneda and the Hawkins scale. About 25 years ago I started to learn how to calibrate by practicing Subud, Sushila Bodhidharma, an Indonesian practice of spirituality and enlightenment founded by Bapak Subu. Some years ago someone recommended the Hawkins scale to me and the books of David Hawkins, so I delved into it, and since then I have practiced his calibrations many thousands of times and also had the opportunity to verify these results. For example, by exams. I have passed several exams in university just by applying calibration, which is a specific form of kinesiology. A specific form. It's not exactly the same. And one of the useful applications of the Hawkins scale is to calibrate books. How valuable is the information in those books in there? Hawkins did this himself with the Bible, for example, and some other books. So because Carlos' books are so very much criticized for good reason, it is important to know which books contain the highest knowledge and the least adulteration with fantasy aspects. So let us have a look first about the order of books in which they were written and published. So as you can see here, he wrote 12 books starting from 1968, which is about the first 5 years of his time with whoever Don Juan was in reality, about 1960 to 1965. Then A Separate Reality, which is again more or less about the same time, a little bit later. Then The Journey to Ixtlan, which is his most important book. Then there are two books which are very mixed with nonsense. The Tales of Power and The Second Ring of Power. Then three very good books. The Eagle's Gift, The Fire from Within, and The Power of Silence. Then two crappy books, The Art of Dreaming and Magical Passes. Especially Magical Passes is just a big waste of time. Obviously he was in need of money just before he died. Then The Wheel of Time, which is a recapitulation of best of quotes of Don Juan. And the last book, which is very good again, The Active Side of Infinity. Now let's have a look at the quality. Which books offer the best content in regards to spiritual enlightenment. But first a few words about the Hawkins scale. It's a scale from 0 to 1000, which is the scope of human consciousness. 0 to 200 is not conscious, it's asleep, it's unconscious. Then 200 to 600 is the path of awakening. And 600 to 1000 is the path of enlightenment. So books which are interesting to me are books at 600 plus. Okay, now let's have a look. So the highest calibrating book is The Journey to Ixtlan between 500 and 730. Everything above 600 is amazing, is rare, and everything at 700 or above is super rare. Then we have A Separate Reality and The Wheel of Time between 500 and 700. And The Teachings of Don Juan, the first book, The Eagle's Gift, The Fire from Within, and The Power of Silence at between 450 and 700, yes. So they all still reach 700. That's a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books. Then we have The Active Side of Infinity at between 400 and 670, and The Art of Dreaming between 400 and 600. Everything below that is of no particular interest. The Tales of Power, The Second Ring of Power, Magical Passes, forget about it. Now let's have a look at the averages. Now we have between measurements from 2 already. Now let's look at the averages. The Journey to Ixtlan still top with 600 average. That's super rare. Then the teachings of Don Juan, the Eagle's Gift, the Fire from Within, the Power of Silence, and the Wheel of Time, averaging around 550, and the Separate Reality around 500. Still good. Everything above 500 is basically worth reading. Then the Active Side of Infinity and the Art of Dreaming, there are good parts in it, but there's also lots of bullshit in it. That's why the average lower. And the Tales of Power, the Second Ring of Power, and Magical Passes, yeah, of no interest. Many of the later books, they were just sales schemes and ways to introduce his pals and girls with outright lies. But the earlier books, where he was really working through his notes with Don Juan or whatever his name was, there are a lot of nuggets in there. Yeah, even if a book is averaging around 500, 560 or 600 or whatever, the nuggets are important. Just so you have some comparison, the Bible, for example, of course it depends on the translation, but all in all it averages around 700, and the bits in there range from 50 to 900. So there's really a lot of bullshit in there also, and really, really good stuff up to 900. That's exceedingly rare. Or Sri Aurobindo's The Life Divine averages around 600, and the content is between 550 and 800. That is why I keep saying that The Journey to Ixtlan is a very remarkable, outstanding, rare book. It averages around 600, and the content is between 500 and 730. That's a lot. If you read only one book by Carlos, then it's that one. But of course you need the key. I made already several videos about the keys, how to understand Carlos Castaneda. And of course the difficulty is that many of the things Carlos describes, he didn't understand at the time he described them. He made notes and he didn't understand anything basically at that time. So many of the things were tailored to Carlos. The teachings of Don Juan for Carlos Castaneda, not for everyone. So many of the things are useless to anyone else because they were exactly tailored to Carlos's personality and problems. And he was a stupid and stubborn son of a bitch. He says so himself several times, many times. Still, we can extract some very valuable nuggets out of these books, especially The Journey to Ixtlan and The Eagle's Gift, The Fire from Within, The Power of Silence, and The Wheel of Time, which is a summary. So these are the core books, I would say. Especially if you know your Vedas very well, then it really becomes more and more easy to understand them. Some things are just teaching methods and tricks to trick Carlos's mind. Some things are allegories, similes, metaphors, and some things are meant literally. So we need the stuff that is meant literally. Like, as I have said in my last video, that the world as we know it is a description, a mere description, one of many possible descriptions. It's not objective. Okay, that's it for today, just so that you know why I'm talking about Carlos Castaneda books so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving me a liking. Thank you to all my patrons. Thank you for joining me as a patron, and see you soon.